Hi there, Chris from Stone Age Gamer here, and welcome back to the gratuitous Rainbow Spectrum. Now, the Nintendo Switch is a fantastic game platform. I'm a huge fan of it. It might even be my favorite system of all time. It's done remarkable things for Nintendo's reputation. It's just the right system at the right time. But as with all things, time marches on, and the Nintendo Switch's life is probably coming to an end relatively soon. That being said, for as great as that system's library is, there's a handful of games or even game franchises entirely that are missing from the Nintendo Switch that I think is incredibly bizarre. So what are the games that I think should really make the Switch before the system shuffles off this mortal coil? Let's take a look.
We may be entering the Switch's final year as Nintendo's primary platform, and I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that this system has been one heck of a ride for Nintendo fans like myself. The NES, Super NES, and Game Boy were near limitless sources of amazement for me, but as is the way of all things, the video game industry changed quite a bit around when games went 3D. The Nintendo 64 was home to some really great stuff, but the number of games I loved on the system was far lower than previous generations. The GameCube righted the ship for me personally, but the gaming audience at large abandoned Nintendo during the N64 era in favor of the undeniably cooler PlayStation ecosystem. Nintendo followed up the Cube with the Wii, a system that I also have no small amount of love for, but also had lots, and I mean lots, of problems built in. Then came the Wii U, which again is a system I love but had numerous hurdles, preventing it from being truly successful, meaning that with the exception of their handheld platforms, which were always pretty great, Nintendo hadn't had a home console that was a genuine slam dunk since the 90s. That is, until the Switch showed up. The Switch wasn't bogged down by any sort of gimmicks, instead focusing on accessibility, leaving things like motion controls and HD rumble to take a back seat to the one thing that matters above all else: gameplay. The Switch is not perfect, but then again, no system is. But this is the first platform I've good and truly loved the way I did my NES, Super NES, and Game Boys since those halcyon days, and that's largely thanks to its amazing game library. Just about all of my favorite series have had incredible new entries and remakes. Mario got Wonder, Odyssey, and Super Mario RPG. Zelda got Breath of the Wild, Link's Awakening, and Cadence of Hyrule. Kirby got Forgotten Land, Dream Buffet, Metroid got Dread and Prime Remastered, Mega Man 11, Blaster Master Zero, Runner 3, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Double Dragon Gaiden, Sonic Superstars, Pikmin 4, Streets of Rage 4, Advance Wars Reboot Camp, Cruisin' Blast, the list goes on, and that's to say nothing of the incredible new games that have absolutely joined the ranks of my all-time favorites, like Ring Fit Adventure, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Horizon Chase Turbo, The Messenger, Bomb Chicken, Dadish, and West of Loathing. The Switch is a very special platform, and will likely have earned the title of my favorite game system of all time when its life cycle eventually comes to a close. But there's still something missing. Well, several somethings actually. For as many amazing games as the Switch has played home to, there are some really big names that are still conspicuously absent from its library. First and foremost, let's talk Donkey Kong. It's absolutely shocking to me that the Switch hasn't had a single original Donkey Kong game during its lifetime. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is nothing short of a masterpiece, but that's an enhanced port of a Wii U game. Mario vs. Donkey Kong looks like a fantastic remake of the GBA original, but again, that isn't a new game. How in the world has a brand as important as Donkey Kong not seen any actual new games for so long? 2D or 3D, I just want a big, high-quality, all-new Donkey Kong adventure to sink my teeth into. It's been far too long. On a much spookier front, what is going on with Castlevania? Don't get me wrong, the Castlevania collections that currently exist on Switch are great, but why hasn't there been a new Castlevania game? Bloodstained is really quite good, but it's still not Castlevania, a series that's desperately overdue for a new iteration. But more than that, where the heck is Symphony of the Night? It's seriously one of the best games ever made, and that there hasn't been a port of any kind to the Switch is a real head-scratcher. Star Fox I almost understand, because Star Fox Zero was a complete disaster. The thing is, it didn't have to be. In fact, none of the Star Fox games since 64 needed to be the mixed bags that they were. All Star Fox fans want is another Star Fox game, darn it! Just make a super fun, flashy rail shooter where you get to zoom around in an R-Wing and blow up cool stuff. We don't need on-foot missions, we don't need tactical maps, and we certainly don't need unintuitive second-screen experiences. Just a really fun, clever Star Fox game. Is that really so much to ask? And what about Street Fighter? 5 was a PlayStation exclusive, which stinks, but I get it. 6, though? There really wasn't any way to get 6 up and running on Switch? Street Fighter 6 is a great-looking game, but Street Fighter doesn't really need to look much better than 4 to be great. And there's nothing about 6's gameplay that the Switch is inherently incapable of. So pare down the visuals and make it run on Switch. If Mortal Kombat can do it, then Street Fighter can. Okay, maybe Mortal Kombat isn't the best example, but you know what I mean. Now, I know I sound like a crazy old man, but Kid Icarus was, at one point, one of Nintendo's most important brands, right alongside Metroid and Donkey Kong. But after its Game Boy sequel, that was weirdly never released in Japan, the series went silent until Sakurai revitalized it on 3DS with Kid Icarus Uprising. The game did well, but apparently not well enough, and definitely nowhere near as well as it could do on Switch. It needs some serious work in the controls department, but if Metroid Prime Remastered proved anything, it's that taking a bananas control scheme and just letting players have the option to play with something more traditional is almost always a good thing. I'd be thrilled with a brand new Kid Icarus game, but a remake of Uprising would make me pretty happy too. Ninja Gaiden has been neglected for far too long. The trilogy was released for Switch, which was nice, but that's not the Ninja Gaiden game we need. We need a proper revitalization of the original 2D games. Hits like Cyber Shadow and The Messenger exist because of the unbridled coolness that was Ninja Gaiden for NES, and the fact that Tecmo hasn't seen fit to revive that franchise in so long is beyond my comprehension. Ryu Hayabusa is awesome, his games are awesome, his world is awesome, the music is awesome, and I want more. Punch-Out is another one of Nintendo's longest-running franchises, and while the Switch has been a great platform for the series, in that it's the first place people have ever been able to purchase the original arcade releases in the series, even though Super Punch-Out is strangely only available in Japanese for some reason, Next Level Games' Sublime Punch-Out for Wii is right there, positively begging for an HD upgrade. It's one of the best-looking Wii games ever made, and all it needs is an HD coat of paint to be one of the best-looking Switch games too. But past that, why hasn't there been a new Punch-Out yet? Punch-Out for Wii was successful enough to become part of the Nintendo Selects line. Let's get some fresh fighters to face down Little Mac in the ring already. And finally, we must discuss Wario. Specifically, Wario Land. WarioWare has count them two completely new entries on the Switch, and don't get me wrong, I'm very happy about that. Would I trade both of them for a new Rhythm Heaven game? Absolutely, in a heartbeat, but that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about Wario's other franchise, Wario Land. Wario Land games are super fun, and just like Punch-Out, there hasn't been a new one since the Wii. Wario Land Shake It was a revelation when it released for being a 2D Nintendo platformer with hand-drawn animation, but the brand has been completely dead since then. I love WarioWare, but Wario Land games are so very good, and it's such a disservice to the character to not have a new, proper adventure in the wings for him. Wario is great, and he needs a new game pronto. We just got a Metal Gear collection that finally brings the solid games in their original form to Nintendo platforms, as well as the NES classics that have been absent for decades. And there's a brand new Contra game on the way that looks like it's going to be a heck of a lot better than that disaster from a few years back. There is so much good, even Bubsy got a new Switch game that wasn't half bad. So believe me when I say I really don't mean to come off as taking the incredible feats the platform has already thrown my way for granted. It's an amazing library that I'll likely return to many times for years to come, but with very little time left before the Switch's inevitable successor drops, I'd love to see these other names find their way to my favorite little system. But will they? I guess time will tell.
Well, there you have it. That's some of the stuff that jumps out at me is like, this is the stuff that would really make the Switch's library feel whole. This is everything I could have possibly wanted out of this system, besides, a D-pad that works on the Pro Controller, or Joy-Cons that don't drift, but that's neither here nor there. The Switch is a great platform. I love it. I can't wait to see what happens next, but boy, wouldn't it be cool if it just kind of wrapped up in this perfect little circle of, well, this had everything that I wanted on it, because nothing's ever done that before. Nothing's ever been like, oh, now this has everything. NES didn't have an original, Donkey Kong adventure, or even just full-on original Donkey Kong game. Well, Donkey Kong math, but that doesn't count. The Super Nintendo did not have an original 2D Ninja Gaiden game. You know, there's never been a single platform that really hit all of the bases, and the Switch is so close to being that system. I really hope it happens, just because I think it would be a neat thing to have in my life, and in all of our lives. Well, there you go. I'm going to stop rambling. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked what you saw here today, please follow, comment, like, subscribe, share, and let me know down in the comments which games do you think what games are missing from the Switch library that would make it a complete system for you. What would it take to get that system to have just about every kind of game that you would have wanted on it? Because I think that's a fun conversation to have. Thanks again, everybody. On behalf of all of us here at Stone Age Gamer, keep playing games.